Locked.
Hello and welcome to another ClueCon Weekly. My name is David Duffett and I'm the Worldwide Community Advocate at SignalWire. And it's my pleasure each week to come along into the ClueCon Weekly podcast studio and meet somebody very interesting from the world of open source communications who's got something interesting to say. And this week it's Miguel Licero. How are you, Miguel?
David, thank you. It's such an honor to be with the great David Duffett here today.
I wouldn't get that excited. It's very good to have you along, Miguel. I've known you for a good long time, meeting you at various Astricons, and of course you spoke at the most recent Astricon. But your story with Asterisk goes back a long way, I think. Tell us a little bit about how you got into Asterisk in the first place.
Yes, I used to start. I have this startup in the late 90s, early 2000. It was a web hosting company, but I had a job in a ESP company. So we needed to work a way to be able to take my personal company phone calls while I was at my day job. So doing my research, we found a project called Asterisk at the time. And since we could not afford a phone system for our startup project, we started to do some digging and we were able to put together an Asterisk phone system. I remember it was Asterisk 1.2. So while I was at working at the cable company, I was able to take phone calls over the internet, from my companies. It was great. We're talking about the early 2000s, late 90s, where bandwidth was not like nowadays. Probably my office bandwidth was probably some 64K or something, and it worked. Okay, so we were able to use VoIP at the time.
Excellent, that's great stuff. And Asterisk, and of course, then a little bit later on, FreeSwitch has enabled the two of them have enabled so many businesses to get going. And as you said, sometimes it's a soft start where people were working a day job and they had an interesting idea to do something else. Other times it's when people have, truly started their own business from scratch without another job, but Asterisk or FreeSwitch allowed them to get going in the world of telephony with very, very low bars to entry in terms of cost. Of course, there are learning curves associated with that. So you had Asterisk set up for your own business that you were starting kind of on the side. And then tell me how that worked forward, because of course, when I meet you at these various events like Astricon and IT Expo and places like that, it's sometimes in the context of you working with Diego and the other guys from
Scali, yes.
Yeah, Xscali. What was I was trying to think of the other name that goes with it. Is it Motion? Is that the name?
Motion, yeah. Motion is the version 2 of Xscali, yes.
Right. I'm with you. So I meet you in that context, but give us a little bit of the middle space between you starting your own business and finding Asterisk.
Yes. So because we were able, I was living in Colombia actually at the time in South America, and because some people saw what I was doing with, hey, this guy is carrying voice over the internet. So I started to help call centers. So it was interesting at the time, for operations here in Florida, to outsource seats down there in Latin America because it was cheap. Okay. So I was able and had the honor to put the first call center in the north of Colombia using VoIP. I remember we started with 6 agents for this company. It was a call center in Miami. And I was able to sell the project, and I said to this company, hey, let me take this phone calls, overseas, and your customers won't realize, we're taking the calls out there. Right. He was very intrigued because he will be saving at least 0.5%, of the current cost. So I remember he was saying to me, listen, for half of the money, I will give it a chance. Okay, and we did it. And we were with that project for almost 2 years. We were able to get calls in Cartagena from companies here in the United States.
Right, and when you say it was the first VoIP contact center in Colombia, can you remember what year that was?
I believe we were rolling 2003, 2004. I
Yeah,
was
that sounds just right for Asterisk 1.2. That kind of
correct. I remember because I got married in 2004, so that was one of my first big ventures. So that's
right.
how I remember.
Great stuff. Okay, and so I believe Vichy Dial also features in your story. So tell
Yes.
us how you moved forward and got into Vichy Dial, and then we'll come closer to the present day and talk about a little bit about Xcali and also about chatbots and AI and stuff like that.
Correct, and one of the highlights we had with Beachy Dial is that I remember telling this to Matt Florell. We were able to use $1 with $1. We were able to do 250,000 calls a day with a Beachy Dial. And when I remember, meeting him, he was saying like, "What? What are you saying? I didn't know my product was able to could do that." And say, "Yeah, we can do that with the right hardware." With the right memory and setup, we can do that. So yes, we were using Vichy Dial, but at some point the call center industry is really big, and even though Vichy Dial is a great product, we were looking for something with a better interface for the administrator, at the administrator level.
Right.
So I was able to contact a great company in Italy, and they were starting up with this product for the call centers. I'm based on Asterisk because I still believe Asterisk is a great product, and I was able to offer them my experience, in product design and in the U.S. market. So somehow I got involved with them, and now we use Xcali to promote unified communications and omni-channel communication within the call center industry.
Right. Okay. Now we shouldn't move away from Vichy Dial before I just remind everybody that Matt Florell, the man behind Vichy Dial, is the owner of one of the tidiest beards in open source communications. He has a very good beard. My one's a little bit straggly, but Matt always presents a very tidy beard at Astricon and other events that he shows up to. So hello, Matt. Good to have you in the open source communications community. So now let's broaden the conversation out a little bit, Miguel. Thanks for filling in some of that background, just in case people haven't met you before. But I know that a lot of the work you do now is in the world of artificial intelligence, voice bots and chat bots. Just kind of give us an introduction to that, just in case people have not come across that world before.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we really believe artificial intelligence. It's a good way. It's a good tool to predict conversations. Artificial intelligence is all about prediction. Okay, so when we bring the artificial intelligence to the call center environment, we could easily build voice bots, and chatbots too, or voice bot. And you will need these robots, for the cases where you need like immediate an answer, okay, and you don't have an agent, or let's say it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to have someone, at 3 o'clock in the morning just to give a frequently asked question. Actually, so we started to work with artificial intelligence, all this machine learning concept. And we have a nice setup with Xcali, and then we can use different AI engines such as Amazon Lex or Amazon or Google Dialect Flow, to create voice bots. And actually, last Astricon in Atlanta, I had the honor to be a speaker there, and I was able to present, our setup of voice bot using Dialect Flow.
Okay, yeah. Well, maybe I believe you've got a screen that you can share to talk us through that.
Yes.
So
yes.
If I just pop that over for a moment, maybe you can talk us through that.
So yes, what are you looking here? It's this is how a voice bot works. So in this case, here you can see the actual call flow. So here is where the call starts. Okay, then we just wait 3 seconds. And then here's where it becomes very interesting. We have a connection with Amazon Poly. So you really don't need an agent. We can just, come here and, say, ask, Amazon Poly to render this voice in real time, for the voice for this text in real time. Right. Then we recognize, okay, we do the opposite. And in this block, we have a speech recognition from Google. Okay. Yep. and we let the caller, speak, and then we send all the action, all this data to Dialogflow. Okay. Now, of course, the artificial intelligence is being done there. We have our Dialogflow environment where we have instructed, how to manage the prediction of the conversations. And then we have a conditional block. Okay, if for some reason we hear or somebody says, okay, I want to be transferred to an agent, then we just come back to Amazon Poly and we render, okay, let me transfer your call to one of our representatives. Okay, please wait.
Okay.
And the call ends up in a queue. Okay. Now we have another condition. If for some reason we don't understand, okay, what was said in the conversation, then we also move the call to the agents. And in this case, we will say, I'm really sorry, but I couldn't understand you, or I don't have an answer for that question. So since I don't want to get you frustrated, let me transfer your call to one of our operators. And then, as you see here, the call goes to the queue block. But if none of these happens, it means that the conversation was understood, and then we close this loop. Okay, by now what we do here is, you see, there's a variable of the dialogue flow speech, and now we render the result of the conversation coming out of the dialogue flow engine. And then we go back, to the loop, by sending this to the ASR again. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very clever way of doing things, and very nice to kind of see it all rendered there on the screen. And just in terms of putting that together, is that kind of like a drag and drop environment?
Yes. This is an award-winning IVR designer. We call it Collie Square, and it just drag and drop, and you can build anything you want.
Yeah, great, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you just in general about voice bots and chat bots. Is it exactly the same logic that lies between the two of them, and just one is text and one is voice? Or is there differences that you have to get into when you're talking about voice bots?
That is a very good question. Behind the curtain, you could say it's the same logic. Okay, what is changing is the front end. Okay, you will use text as an input, or you will use voice as an input. Now, as you just saw, that voice at the end it's converted to data. Okay, we're going through speech recognition tools, and again it's becoming text. Okay, so you could say it somehow is the same. All right. And you can connect your favorite, artificial intelligence engine. In this case, we're using Dialogflow, and you can connect it through, like for example, here is a voice bot, but you could also build an SMS bot or a chat bot. Okay, so you can use the same logic to build, or to support the channel, whatever you prefer.
Right. Okay. And I noticed in your example, you were taking the return from Dialogflow and then using a text-to-speech engine to speak it.
Correct.
But but is that not inherent in Dialogflow? Doesn't Dialogflow have its own kind of voice?
Well, we just use Google Dialogflow for the for the machine learning, but we can use Google or Amazon Lex, Amazon Poly, sorry, or any other ASR or TTS engines, to render the voice. Right. In this case, we just want to use Google Dialogflow for the logic part, okay, for the prediction part, and then we take the conversation part within our IVR designer.
Right. Okay. Of course, I'm used to seeing people kind of put it all into Dialogflow.
Correct. That way you have more control. Let's say, for example, you want to build something very complex, like I don't know, a voice bot to take the payment of your mortgage. Okay, so then you have one level for authentication, another level or stage, to connect to the payment gateway. So that way you have more flexibility instead of doing it all in Dialogflow.
Okay, right, I understand now. Of course, people work with Asterisk and Dialogflow and with FreeSwitch and Dialogflow. And then very recently, we've added a one-click integration so that people that have got Dialogflow
I
can
know that.
into SignalWire and hook it up
I
with
know that. Yes.
a phone call very easily. So just in general, for people that maybe have not used something like Dialogflow yet and are new to that world, can you talk us through a little example of how you might use Dialogflow, just for a simple use case?
Yes. I'm new to this too. Okay. 2 or 3 years ago, what is a chatbot? What is a voice bot? Okay. Yeah, Dialogflow. I like Dialogflow over Amazon Lex. To me, it's very easy to build robots. It's like you're building a machine. You have inputs, okay. You have outputs. So you kind of train. That's the word Google uses. You train your robot, okay. What are the expected, okay, inputs, and what could be the probably, the possible outputs, okay. So you just kind of let's say if the subject is like we have this nice voice bot for it's about the wines in a region in this Italy region. So
Right.
okay, what are the possible questions someone could address for this matter, okay. So you just input those, and what are the possible answers, okay. So that's how you kind of set up your robot. It's called you train the robot, and to me it's very easy. It can be as complex as you want, okay. For this particular demo, we put together some spices, some flavor. You could tell if when you talk to the robot will answer like, or well, in that case. So we put a little of effort, to make it sound very real.
Yeah.
But you can do simple stuff, or again, very complex stuff.
Right. Yeah, I'm reminded of back in the days when, before we were getting into AI, we were just talking about speech recognition. You'd have to set up the grammars, wouldn't you? The number of words you want them to recognize and stuff like that. So it sounds like it's a similar process, and yet complicated by the fact that we're trying to deal with natural language.
Oh, yes.
In this way. Well, that's great stuff. And so, with you, Miguel, being involved in contact centers implementing this stuff in real life, do you have any sense of the kind of feedback from the end users when customers ring up and actually go round this cycle with Dialogflow? Do they like it? Do they get to the results they want quicker? Or what kind of feedback have you had?
Well, that's that. I really remember last time we met, we were with Allison, and Allison actually was talking about this things in the IVR. The way we suggest our customers to build this voice bot is to not enforce, the conversation, because I am the ones that, who gets frustrated when for example, I call my bank and like, what? Representative. So, and the bank will tell me that's not a valid option. Okay. So, so I think 50-50. Okay. 50% they like it, 50% they don't like it. Okay. But again, when we work with customers, what we suggest is let's try to make it as human as possible. Okay. And, if you hear something like, I want to talk to a representative, just send the call to a representative. Okay. Why do you want to keep the call in a loop there? So that's kind of our feedback. Right now, we have done some basic stuff. We have one project that we did for the Seminole County Supervisor of Elections in Florida to automate, the process of getting a ballot, for the voters. There are some other couple of examples of this lawyer that puts advertising, late in night, so they don't want to pay for an agent, at that time. So they just want to. So we have done some stuff, and I think for simple stuff, it still is okay. Again, like, where guys are you located? What how can I pay my bill? Or please use my Visa card on file to pay. For some other stuff, I think I still believe you haven't asked me this yet, but I don't really think the artificial intelligence is here yet to replace humans. Okay, we really believe artificial intelligence actually is requiring people with different skills. So right now we are looking for the guys who are able to train the robot, to maintain the robot. So we are not, taking jobs from anybody. So we are creating jobs. So and again, just to answer your question, I think it's a fairly 50-50.
Yeah, it's an interesting sphere because on the one hand, I know that people do like a situation where they can come in on a system, whether it's a phone system or a website or whatever it might be, and get the result they want quickly. And if they can do that without speaking to somebody, then some people actually prefer that, because they get their results quickly. On the other hand, sometimes these systems can act to build up a frustration level that wasn't there to start with. So by the time the caller gets to speak to an agent, they're kind of mad, especially if the agent then says, yeah, give me your account number again. And you go, well, I dialed that in earlier on. Yeah, it didn't come through.
And you're right. And here's something Diego has been working with, and it's related to emotions. Okay, right now Diego has set up a laboratory. If I call Matt, like I want to talk to a sales manager or something, now the robot is able to interpret that and to say, oh, Miguel is mad. Okay, or if I call, hey, I would like some help about this particular product. Now the robot is able to say, okay, I can, take some action. So what I'm trying to say is right now we have the tools to kind of anticipate, to predict, what we should do if you are mad, happy, depending on what's your mood.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that called sentiment analysis.
Correct.
I've heard of it being applied to call recordings retrospectively. But of course, you only just need a bit more computational power to apply it in real time to things that are going on. And
Correct.
Actually, you lead me to perhaps the last part of our conversation, Miguel, and that is, from where you're sitting, what do you think the future is looking like for contact centers and the use of technology?
I have these days, right now, we're living the COVID-19 days. So the call center industry is booming. Okay, right now I have a lot of contact centers, increasing seats just because more customer service is needed. So I think that's an industry that it's going to grow. So as well as the answering service industry is kind of the cousin of the contact center industry. And I think, as I was saying before, we're still going to need the humans, because right now with the omni-channel technology and the interaction with different channels, we're still going to need the human part. Okay, the robots are going to be there just to assist. Maybe they can solve some problems at the first stage, but complicated problems, for complicated problems, we need humans. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, I really think we're going to see contact centers for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And in terms of the way things like dialogue flow and voice bots are working, do you think there's room for improvement there, or do you think they're an optimized technology already?
I think it's a work in progress. I think it's a work in progress. There are some stuff that sometimes we really think we don't feel confident, but I know we eventually they will get better. Again, it's there are some processes that are subject of having bots. Some of the processes, it's not worth it, especially when it has to do with customer retention, customer satisfaction, and churn. So it's better, the one-on-one. Okay, and we're humans. Okay, so we need human contact. But I think Dialect Flow, Amazon Lex, all the machine learning engines definitely will give us a hint. They will be used as tools, to help us, to increase customer satisfaction. That's how I see it.
Great. Okay. Well, look, Miguel, thank you very much for dropping by the ClueCon podcast studio. It's a pleasure to have you along. And I'll look forward. Of course, we're in uncertain times, but I would like to think that we'll be getting back to live events before too long. And I'll look forward to seeing you at the next one, whenever that may be.
Yes, yes. Thanks, David. Thanks for your time.